We talk that we're going to build this, we're going to do this, we're going to do this, but where is the coordination? Where is our pinnacle of organization? How can we build an Africa without organization? Every transformation in every country has got a name, and therefore who puts together maybe a leadership process. People talk of Lee Kuan Yew, you know, um, people talk of Deng Xiaoping in China, who gave a vision and a strategy of those four modernizations. So, what strategy are we using? Who is our leader? And to understand that at the African Union, we don't have a leader there. We've got a chairperson. They are not a transformational leader because we need to agree that Africa needs revitalization and follow a transformational process that puts together a transformational concept. Having said that, I want to be one of those what you call feather rousers. I want to be that person that just breaks down uh, the structure and build again. I think that Africans, I believe, that Africans, um, we are a wandering people, from an operational point of view. We don't seem to know what to do. Because if you know what to do, you make things happen. If you want to buy a new car, you go buy one. If you want to build an airplane, you go build one. If you want to run a program, you go run one because you have designed it and you have made it, you have determined. You see, a major problem is that you know there's a structural process from knowledge or from information to execution. There's all this knowledge, all this understanding, but I think there's a lack of the wisdom and the ability to create choices and then narrow down the choices to a choice that is executable. And I think, why is it like this? Number one, I think our people are stuck on this historical fact of saying, people are taking care of us. I mean, they are exploiting us, and they're exploiting us, and they're exploiting us. That is the message that you find in all these things. But historically, people have always been like that. That's the nature of human beings. If you go back, I mean, the British were barbarians. Africa has never been, as barbaric as all these other nations. But in history, that's what it is. Now, if you are in a well, it doesn't matter who threw you in the well. You have to get out of the well, and it's up to you to decide what you want to do. You have to figure out what you're going to do to get out of that well. And Africa, I think, is we fell into a well, and have the people have the illusion that we are still walking. You fall in a well and you think you're still walking. Guess what? You stay in the well, and that's where we are with all this institution in Africa. I think the other thing is that I think we are living a lie. Africa is living a lie that we're going somewhere, that we're doing something. Uh, Many countries are coming. When I have Turkey coming in, European countries coming in, Russia coming in, China, they have millions of people here. A person from Lebanon comes with no shoes, then he opens the shop and Africans are working for him. So I think we're living the lie that something is happening. We're going somewhere. I think we're not, because we don't have a pinnacle of organization. We don't have a structured organization. Number two, I think we're living the myth that the international community and the MDGs, or they're now called the SDGs, sustainable Millennium Development Goals. The current visions and plans of African countries are attached to that. The first, the first 13 of those of their objectives are socio-economic programs that each country should do for himself. Because guess what? It's packaged at the United Nations. It comes through the United Nations, right? Through the General Assembly, but it's structured by Europe. And then they call our people the director, the permanent secretaries, the ministers are out of the country every week. Why? Because they're going there, they are going to these seminars, they get some money there, and they're told what to do. When a new president comes in, and what transformational they may be by the system due to that protocol, living that myth that something is happening and that the create change by fighting the existing new reality that makes this one obsolete. And key, that's where I think a key element of understanding the science of transformation. Every transformation has got the emergence of a new leader who has concepts of the future that are detached from what is happening, because the gap in technology these days that takes, that creates a critical mass over a period of maybe 40 years where people can move forward. Now, this detached from on the ground, and we have to agree as Africans, what kind of change? Are we transformational, or are we, fixing this thing and this thing and this thing? That's what we're trying to do. We have to decide that is transformational and follow the 5 steps and say, we agree, then what is the vision? That is what is the buy-in? And what is our social architecture? What are we going to do with all these entities that we have? We have to, to reorganize our social architecture as a people and create that unity process and then institutionalize. That is the process. So we're living this myth that we are doing somewhere, this one is building this city here, this one is building this project here, but we're not structured. And the other thing is that so this illusion that the Agenda 2063 is taking us somewhere. You would think that a lot of our people think that 2063, is a vision. I think it's a set of aspiration that doesn't have a means to fulfill it. Because if it does, this thing I think was done in 2015. Where are we? It goes back, there's no leadership. See, the people in the African Union are technical people. The chairperson who comes, they don't know what to do in their own country. And they're not running the country anyway. How can you run a continent? And when they come there, they're given speeches and structure and messages, guess by who? By the technical people. These technical people, the African Union, they're not nationalists, they're not revolutionaries. They all they want is job promotion and so forth. So we're leaving our process, our enterprise, our future, right, in the hands of the technical person who is at the African Union that has been captured. African Union can't even pay its own bills. The African presidents cannot put money just for the budget. How can they do it for the whole continent? So we're not organized. So what do we need to do? First of all, we need to identify. We need to identify a pinnacle of organization. Where is the transformational leader that has the vision? Because that's how it works. Many people say, no, one person cannot. It always comes as a seed in the mind of one person that is given by God, the total concept of what is possible and what can be done to achieve it. Then the key thing becomes having a team, a buying team that then structures the whole thing. And I think that unless we have that pinnacle of organization, we can't do anything, because the the key thing right now in Africa is we need a roadmap, right? A roadmap that says we need sense of urgency, we need direction, because we don't have alignment of all these Pan-African institutions that we have. In fact, who is the head of the Pan-African, whether it's Congress or entity in Africa? Who knows? Who can tell me who the president is? You hear people say, "I'm Pan-African, I'm Pan-African." What does that mean? What do you have in your hand? Because the whole thing of Pan-African is about doing things together. And you hear people talk about Kwame Nkrumah, Kwame Nkrumah, Kwame Nkrumah, Kwame Nkrumah, and Marcus Garvey, and so forth. Well, we're talking about the history. These people had a foresight of a structured process to advance Africa. And unless, who has that plan? You see, that's why we designed the Rapid Africa Plan, structured on that basis to fulfill the vision of those people. Now, the roadmap then says alignment, structure of all the processes that are happening. There's no structure, is there? What's happening on the ground and the program to advance Africa in the next 40 years. It needs structure. Then you need an institutional framework that says, how do we put all these things together? What is it going to look like? What is the structure? And I think that we're underestimating the complexity of the unity process, of the operational process, of the institutional process. Not only the governmental or public administration system. How about the political model? How about the social economic model? What institution of power are we going to use? Are we going to use democracy? All the other nations like China, so they've got their own model. But what model are we going to be? And everybody's talking about the royal. That's the right place to start. What mandate have they given us? Are they organized? How long are they going to take to organize themselves? That is why I say that I spent 10 years to realize that our generation, I'm 65, my youngest is 24. She's graduated. She started, working right now. She was saying she got her own apartment. She said, "Dad, I'm closing my own door for my own apartment." You see, so I wanted to make sure that our children have got a map for the transformation, so that if we die, we're knocking off, at 65, you start knocking one by one. But what are we leaving? Structure to, I think we need to move Africa with a sense of urgency. I think we need to find and create that pinnacle process. A key element amongst Africans is that we don't snowball. And we keep thinking that, I think we are so structured to look for solutions from outside that if I came and say, "Brother, I've got a plan here," people don't hear you. If I say I spent 10 years, that makes you an expert in the area, right? We don't say, "Oh yeah, we have an expert, you have a brother, why don't we start here together, like this team here? Why don't you have a committee and do something?" It doesn't happen. After this, guess what? We all disappear. We need to have this action, bias for action, and realize that Africa needs a master reset. See, that's what I found out in the first year. We don't have a plan. And with all this entanglement that we have, all our mineral resources don't belong to us. People are building this massive pipeline in Ghana, in Uganda and Tanzania. Who is it going to belong to? You see, the key thing is this, that we don't have to depend on China or anybody else. We can restructure our own finance. That's exactly what China did. You see, we started these things in detail. We just have to get together and start doing it, because everything's totally structured. I'm going to show you in a minute. From a holistic point of view, if there are other people that have this holistic point of view, let's sit down and do that. And I want to appeal to Dr. Louis George, that we talk about this, so we can start somewhere and involve the rest of the continent and start where it matters. Everything else that we have talked about can be organized as a functional strategy behind a vision, and that's how it works. You start with a vision, and you create a strategy, and you set goals, and then you put them in place. If it's technology, it's part of the strategy, and so forth and so forth. And organizing ourselves as a social structure that has a traditional organic leadership, which is the chiefs, because our power has been taken into a Western system that's serving the system. But unless we organize ourselves, we can't do anyway. Anyway, so I want to show you, if I'm allowed to share, I want to show you a glimpse of what I have done to show you that we can get on the table today and move forward. A key element, Dr. Louis George, is that I designed the plan that we call the Rapid Africa Plan. And it's a very detailed, high technical plan because as an engineer, I created that product that works. Like if you say, make me an aeroplane, that's what we do. It's ready to go. It's highly detailed to project and execution to sector level, ready to go. So I want a key element is building prototype nations where we can apply it in quickly. Like you said, it has to be uh, Afro, Afro, Africanized or Afrocentricized, so that our cities, our culture, our industrial models, our social models, our marketing models have an African element and base control and design and structure. So if ready, we would like to go into these countries, like right now, Kenya. We try to get in Zambia. With new information, with new structure, the structure, you cannot see the president. It's difficult. Right now, we want to go to Kenya and say, hey, we can organize a structured system with a public seed to roll out for infrastructure. Want to go to Zambia, want to go to Malawi, and want to go to Ghana. I was in Ghana, spent 4 months. We didn't do anything. So we need a leadership, a network, a system, a team to go direct to these leaders so that they can know that there's a way forward. They don't know that there's a way forward. All this building of the cities and everything we're talking about, they are detached from it, and the system does not allow. So I want to show you very briefly. I'm going to go through this very fast. My goal is to show that we can start moving Africa with a sense of urgency as a leap, as a transformational leap that lifts us, in a fast-tracked way uh, up through the three industrial revolutions and catch up with the next one. Apart from our resources growing, one of the major components of wealth creation is technology, because every technology leaves wealth. In 2016, in one quarter, Apple made $8 billion gross, and the ancillary industry, $32 billion, just one product. I mean, one product. So this we need to harness very quickly. What do we do? The Chinese, all these are partitioning Africa. Africa is colonized. What are we going to do? What are going to be our leading ideas? What are going to be our guidelines? So I want to show you that we are ready to move forward. We need to just find a place to start, to organize, to find a team. And I think I spent 2 years trying to do this, and now I realize, no, we need to connect with the existing leadership already, because it takes time to create a leadership, and they already prove themselves. It doesn't matter where they're working, whether it's Africa Development Bank or other institutions. Those are the leaders that we just need to turn their face and say, look, this is the roadmap. This is what you do, and detach ourselves from this technical process and define the what that we need to do. So if I'm allowed to share, I want to convince you that there's been a very detailed uh, um, discourse on the design of the rapid of this plan that is the transformational project for covering over the next 40 years. Well, that's what it takes these days, 40 years, because it takes about 30 years to reach a critical mass of competence, capacity, and the organic creative process to to mature. May I be allowed to host to share, please?
Sure, sure. Mr. Cancellation, are you here? Mr. Cancellation,
Hello, yes, I'm here. Hello.
please can you enable Professor to share on the screen?
Okay.
Tell me when you are
Okay, please,
ready.
can you try right now? I think I just.
Yeah, I'm still disabled.
Okay, let me try it again. Just a
You
second.
put it.
Share the screen for Professor.
And while this is happening, I was just wanted to say that I mean we have some brothers or sisters that haven't shown their face, and I think that when we have these meetings, at least people should show their face even for a second. I know that a network is a problem for other people, so we know who we have on the platform. Just a suggestion.
Okay, sir.
Oh yeah, it still hasn't come yet.
Yeah, I'm trying to check for.
Isn't
Okay,
it you
so
go right?
I don't know if you can see it right now because you are a co-host already.
I don't know why it's refusing to. Oh
Okay,
yeah. We got it.
okay,
Yeah.
okay,
Okay.
thank you. Yeah,
Okay. I think it's this one here. Right.
okay,
Okay.
yes, fine. Yeah,
So let me see. I wanna maybe I should go like this, right? But you can all see, right? We can all see, right?
yes, it's
Okay.
clear, it's fine enough. Yeah.
Okay. So so I, I'd like you to. I, I want to convince people to look at this thing as as a complete process. That we can put on the table with a sense of agency and go and move forward. So this is called the Rapid Africa Plan, the master reset, because we need to reset Africa and start afresh, as if we're coming from Mars, like I would say. And it's a complete structured modernization plan. And the design process is ready to go. And create this roadmap. It's based on a vision that says Africa will be a $60 trillion by GDP by 2063, and the leading economy in another, by 2070. And it's based on this idea that it's a massive business enterprise of 2.5 billion people. In 30 years, the consumption power would explode. The trajectory of GDP growth for any transforming nation is identical, and um, it goes exponential after 30 years. For example, China was 3 point something trillion dollars by 2008, and by 2016 it went to 12 trillion. So in the last decade, it multiplies by a factor of at least about three. And with that big thing there, with 2.5 billion people, we become the biggest consumer power in Africa. And that's what we got to guard. And so this is a rapid museum of Africa, within a project of 40 years. Like I say, it's a scientific principle, the technical process that is proven in the studies that I did. And I want to show you that this thing here has got an I thought about the organizational structure of how is it going to happen. So we are talking about the chiefs and have them some kind of a royal council, and they give us they give a mandate to this executive council, and then you get a modernization board and the executive council, and here they will say make a plan for us. We've already done that through this board here, right? And then forget about this part here. This is the technical team that starts with the prototype nation that we have to introduce in the prototype nations. We call there as a consultant firm for a start. And then therefore these guys here will drive the Rapid Africa plan. And that Rapid Africa plan is structured as a program in Africa. And that program is broken down into a country project. And in the project, you go to sectors. And then you create a concept of those sectors where you go technology, agriculture, and so forth and so forth, and have something that can actually have a job description that is executable. So it's executable in the country. You see, here we have the Pan-African Rapid Modernization Transformation Program at the central, a federal place. And then we have the National Rapid Modernization Transformational Project, a country as a project. Then we have to sector execution. And this design process is something that there's a structure for doing it the fastest way, the cheapest way. It's already there. And, every if you look at the Chinese process, it's got a simplified, there was a simplified idea of what to do. And here I designed what I call the 533 concept. It says here there are 5 steps of transformation. There are 3 pillars of transformation, and there are 3 phases. Uh, and um, and I think maybe I'll go down and show and kind of show what those phases are. And then Akiram, we said the prototype nations. We need to go into these countries now, through Kenya right now. So we need the prime minister to help us and to talk for us to talk about this, so that the key element in Africa is that the president gets into power. He does not build a transformational concept that it creates a new benchmark of 4 or 5 times the economic benchmark or industrialization benchmark. You need to put together a plan that multiplies the economy 5, 6, 7 times, but we don't do that. Another thing is that they don't have a structured finance, and any structured finance must start with a public seed for infrastructure. How is it in Ghana? People say there's this potential. Why is it investors are not coming? Because there's no infrastructure, and every government that is coming is starting without capital for structure. Even in Zambia, you can tell now that very soon the constraints, the financial constraint, is going to come out. So we have a new design. It's not new. That's how exactly how China did it. That's exactly how South Korea did it. Any nation, they start by making themselves a financial center. So there's a process that we have done that. But right now, we need to go into these nations, structure it and make it Afrocentric, the program. Like I say, the key element here, a lot of people, they say, oh, the African Union is doing this, the African Union is this. Now, any vision supported by the means, do they have the means? They don't have the means, they can't take care of themselves, and therefore they cannot create a program, a financial system for Africa, value system, behavior, corruption. Does the African Union have a control over the presidents? Of course they don't. Do we have a transformational leader there? Of course we do. The strategy, is it transformational? Is it engaging every country so that we can be together? Yes, we have the AFC CFTA, but this we're starting at the bottom because it's run by technical people. But where is the organic structural place that say this is the what we're going to do to Africa, and then this is the leadership, and this is the planning commission for Africa? It does not exist. Therefore, we have this illusion that something is happening, and I think we need to detach ourselves and say, um, like I said, the science is this, that an old paradigm does not mix with a new paradigm because they've got different knowledge content and different value systems. Our generation, we had their own value systems. The next generation have got their own value systems. And therefore, they have the capacity to drive it that we don't have. So these things, if you don't have the correct, this is the bridge. If there's corruption is a problem, it's not going to stand. That's why it hasn't stood for now. The strategy, if it's not transformational, where we get together and say, hey, let's have this central plan, let's do this prototype nations for the next 5 years. When it's structured, we can have a rollout. after 5 years. And meanwhile, we look at the other nations, we're looking at the financing, the critical infrastructure programs, so that in 5 years' time, we know how it works, and we've structured everything, including the principles that we want, to contain, foreign forces and so forth, in detaching, from this foreign system. You see, then that's the only way we can move. But the strategy is not transformational. It is transactional. They want to fix this. Let's build this power here. Let's build this city here and so forth. But at the end of the day, if it doesn't come from the top, you're going to find that it's not adequate. It's disorganized. You don't even know what you end up with. But with this kind of plan, it's structured in detail. So now this is the program. Like I said, yeah, we have the continental management system here. This is our vision. This is one program, Africa. This is each nation, an ethical code for behavior, for a value system, a new financial map. And all the existing programs are aligned with with this year. And the new strategy, the African Master Research, start afresh, because everything is contained. So we have to start afresh, an organic process. And I want to show you that any financial system that does not have a public seed, if you can't have infrastructure, how can you have a national enterprise? You can't. That's why all these opportunistic investors are not coming. They could have been coming in droves right now ahead of us, because we're not structured as business people. And the other thing is that our own presidents don't believe that we can come there and create a financial system and reorganize and do things. They don't believe in us. The president of Ghana had this a video that went viral. We want to chart a new course, but there's no door to get to show the principle for showing that. So this is a structured financial system. When you go into a country, this is what we do. We structure a new system, and we create this public seed. 10, $20 billion to start with, to do it. Kenya owes about $100 billion. How are they going to do? We come with a process to put down a seed, and therefore we become a magnetic living system to attract every other process. And I want to show you that I had to go through this. We're not doing this. You reinterpret. We are not defining what we want to do. The concept. We're not qualifying. What exactly is Africa going to be? What's the process going to be? And you come here and you say, what is the scalability? See, and I'm saying $60 trillion. That's not a thumbs up. In fact, it's a minimum. It's the minimum that I did, the $60 trillion, just to become believable. China is going to be 50 trillion by 2050, right? 2063, we'll have 2.5 billion people, and we've already gone through the critical mass. How big are we going to be? You see, so I went through this process of having a sense of schedule, right? Interval of time. People are not talking about, okay, how long is it going to take for us to be a transformed continent? How long? We don't talk about that. We don't talk about the interval of time, and that transformation works with an interval of time. And then, so we call this re-entrepreneuring, right? You are rethinking a new idea. The new idea of an African enterprise has failed. So what is the new idea that we're doing it? We re-entrepreneur, then we engineer the process. Look at this industrial, what are the industrial models that we're going to use? There's millions of them for all these, what we've designed ourselves, what our people are coming with in the diaspora, and what we want from the other nations, how we structure so it favors our people. Where are we starting from? We're to rebrand ourselves, rebrand Africa. What market model are we going to do? How are we going to, what are we going to do to attract people, and so forth and so forth and so forth. Once we do all these things, we shall become transformation. Then we can be a united Africa. When I wanted to say industrial unified countries of Africa, we have to start with our unification has to start on an industrial program plan. Politics will take us a long time. When this is doable, when an industrial unity is achieved, right, within the next 10 years, then we can do the political model. Because what is key transformation? I want to show you that this this thing has got a lot of detail, like this design of all this foreign detachment, branding, market design for and stuff, industrial design and stuff. All this thing has been done. This is the technical process. Then there's the revolutionary team itself. So what are they doing? The revolutionary team. These are the revolutionary team must still be there. People that say no, 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 Africa is for Africans. This is what we want. This is our manifesto. And hey, foreign countries, nobody. We don't want this, don't want that. We're starting, and they'll be talking. What will be our cultural brand? What will be the political model, and so forth? And they come up with these models that we can apply, and the rules and the manifesto. We haven't thought. We're not thinking about this, and so this is the I'm trying to show you that the thing is ready, it's already been structured. All we need to do is go into a country, start applying it. Our challenge for the past 2 years is to go to the top. The door is closed. The president don't know that there's a way forward. The challenge they have can be solved. In fact, are already solved. When we go into a nation, within 3 months, we'll have a transformational concept because the economic data is already there. They have a plan. We use that to create a concept that multiplies the nation for 3, 4, 5 times. If we go to Malawi, we create a transformational concept that multiplies the industrialization, 4 or 5 times. And the financial system model is there. It can be done. There are two heaps of finance in the European system. They've got a heap of debt, and they've got a heap of finance. They don't know what to do with the finance because they're not structured. So there's a ton of finance there. And then China has moved the functionality of capital from the West to China, become the lenders that thing. We should do it, for ourselves. So there we are, my brothers and sisters. The key thing right now, would like a team to go to these nations, and while we build the central pinnacle of organization for Africa, I think we need to start there, so that there's a comprehensive alignment and structure of the diaspora, the continent, and so forth and so forth. I hope I didn't take too long.
Okay.
Thank you very much.
Yes. We have 4 minutes to the end of the program, which ends at 3 o'clock. So thank you very much, Dr. Hannington. You basically have said all that needs to be captured and resolved mentally so as to be able to create a channel and a strategy to take this to most countries and see how we can create the industrial reorganization and the political reorganization that is required to transform.
We are going to extend the time a little bit because we started a little bit late. So, like for example, Mr. Eric didn't speak very well today. Mr. Eric Masaba, are you here?
Yes, can you hear me? Can you hear me?
So
Yes,
we
now
probably will
it's
follow up with any other questions if there.
Mr. Eric.
That was fantastic by Professor Hannington again. I really believe that I agree we've got to have a sense of urgency and we've got to move these things forward. What I was trying to say before my other device cut off, that's why I've got two, I do believe that we have to start local Indian diasporas actually exist on a very local level and they're very successful. That's a model we don't necessarily need to ignore. That does work. Does anybody have any view on that? Because I've seen very successful, albeit at a subnational scale, Indian diaspora groups.
Please, Mr. George, your internet is lagging.
Was that a question from Eric?
Yes, it was.
Yes.
Yeah. So here's the thing. We go back to I beg to go back here to answer that question. So here's the thing. Unless we okay, oh no, it's earning. It becomes too big, right? So if you look here, so we have this transformational program of Africa, right? Under there, we align everything that we want to do and say what we want to do in Africa, right? And we create this program. But there's a various other this is the master program. That is all the other programs. But a key element is this. When we then go down to the sector projects, under there, then we design and we say, there is this, what do we do? For example, we don't have capital. We don't have, I mean, we don't have collateral. What are we going to do to finance our people, to do research? And what we do with the equity that we have in the diaspora? Because I believe that we have 1,000 people for every process we want in Africa is already there. Whether it's a space, whether it's technology, whether it's industrial engineering, whether it's a public administration to create this process here, we have. But we have to have this structure from there where every program is designed and then it goes to the local level. Because without that structure, how do we bring down everything? So right now, people are going to start from the bottom. If you start from the bottom, how do you know the system and what mandate are you following? And we are transforming, in other words, the system that has got this political model that we have today does not work for us. So we need this central design process for everything. I don't know if
It's my
Market that. It needs to be marketed before people can sign up to it. I don't know if that's.
it's my Gibson Records. It's my
so. As you know, every vision like yours started with you, then you've convinced a few people, then you formed a kind of a team of some kind of board. I see you have some very high level board people on your team. Then when you have structured the concept, then we go and sell, we go sell the concept. We create some kind of technological process with the where the new concept is on a technical process. The youth are saying, this is what we want to do. Then we go down and engage these countries and say, hey, there needs to be a transition here because we have to start a completely new process that we put together this system and then we go negotiate, discuss with the current system, say, look, there needs to be a transition from the old paradigm to the new paradigm. And that's but the primary factor is that we need to go to the president and say, hey, we can work out a transformational concept that is attached to the continental program. And we would like your nation has been selected to be the prototype. Then when people see that working, in these countries, right? That's what sells the thing continentally. When we have solved the key element of finance, uh, when we have solved the key element of finance, which is the biggest problem, and the industrialization model, which we don't have today, when we have put that and it's working, that is the selling point. Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
Mr. Eric, before I go to Dr. T, there's a question I want to ask you, Mr. Eric.
Go on.
Mr. Eric Masaba.
Yep.
Yeah, Mr. Adeboye, I can see your hand. We'll come to you later. Mr. Eric,
No,
do
I
you
was
believe?
raising my hands. Sorry.
Okay, okay, no problem. Mr. Eric, do you believe Africa has the potentials to compete or to participate on the stage of the world as concerns technology? Do you believe in that?
110%, absolutely. The biggest problem Africa has is believing in itself. And what we've got to move away from is looking for pats on the head or people saying, oh, you've done well, here's a small prize. When I created the things I created, I was in an investment bank and I was needing to make money to pay for college. And I just found out that I could do things which were in demand. And I stopped looking for validation except via the market. What I did was I just said, here was a problem you had. I was able to solve it. Is that what you wanted? And these gentlemen in the investment bank, they just couldn't believe it. And they kept on giving me more and more work and off it went. If we were to scale that up to a whole continent of people, we've seen it with sports people, we've got to get away from this idea of we're employees. Just as Professor Hannington said, that you see Lebanese immigrants, they can move to a new country with no shoes, and then within 5 years they've got Africans working for them in that country. And that's something which just generally has to change. I really do believe we need to identify our business leaders and our people who can implement the vision that Professor Hannington has espoused. And we have to move forward here. But it's not through a lack of talent, it's through a lack of self-belief, whether that's come from being smashed down with lots of negative media stereotypes. But as I was trying to say earlier, the Black Panther film showed people in a way which I haven't seen in my entire life before that film came out, that, wow, Black people could be smart and not in a just a stylized way. People actually started to believe it for the first time ever. So what I really need to see is things like math Olympiads with Africans in them. We need to see more visibility for the engineers we do have. We need to hear about success stories about Africans who did something outside the fields of media or sport and made money. And there are those. So I think that's one of the first things the diaspora must do. And that's how we're going to ignite that critical mass to move ourselves forward. And by the way, the Irish have had similar problems. They were seen as subhuman and stupid. When I was growing up in the UK, there were jokes that people who were stupid were Irish, which is ridiculous when you consider all the great innovations Irish people have contributed. So these things can be overcome. But the key thing here is self-confidence and belief, which I believe we're taking great steps towards by having this webinar. I hope that answers your question.
Yes, very well. My next question goes to, I don't know if the Prime Minister, Your Excellency, are you still here?
I think he left.
It's possible he's left.
Okay,
He left.
So this goes to Professor Hamilton. Prof, before we round up, I would like to ask you this. Many people complain of the government, like some people are, yeah, the government is bad African. I know African leaders are sleeping. The African Union is a sleeping house. You go there to drink wine and sleep. But if I ask you this, don't you think we first, because this government is us, we first, like Africans, don't you think we are a little bit like taking excuses behind the government? Because I don't really see what we put in practice. Most Africans, they have like, they talk, they have projects, they show you things, they talk, we complain all the time, but I don't see any plan of action. What for you? What is the way forward? What are we waiting to kickstart this on African land? Because you get everybody now. No, I can do this. It's just because our government. I can do this. What is the way forward, Prof? How can we do to kickstart these things?
Okay. Thank you very much. That's very, very critical. And I want to knock you on your head, but you know, a little bit that you know, it sounds like you missed part of the conversation that we did. Um, you see, this is the illusion that we have. You know, number one, there's a technical process to everything, right? Now, the process of transformation of a nation or even an individual is 80% psychodynamics, is 80% philosophy and psychology, right? And you create a mindset, and that mindset will create a process, and that process is called a paradigm, right? Now, the vision that our generation had, you know, so any of these leaders, including myself, tomorrow you're gonna hear Mbaiwa is no longer there, right? Although I'm an exception because I'm going to live another 40, I mean, I'm going to live to be 105 years, and I know that because I know how to go into the system and manipulate the life. So the key thing is that where we are making the error is to think that the existing leadership will build a future. They don't have the capacity. Their value system In other words, what they expect as a standard of life, what they expect in terms of the industrialization models, in terms of the type of life, in terms of what can be achieved, in terms of what level of quality of life can our people, they don't have that. So, they say that what you see on the outside of a man is what is in the inside of a man. You see, they don't have the psychological, that psychology for the advancement of Africa, because the science says when an individual or a state is localized, I mean, when an individual or a nation are localized in one state, right? The their psychology is particular to that state. In other words, the way they interpret leadership, the way they interpret transformation, organization, religion, and everything is based on that. And anything, don't expect anything higher than that psychology. So we need to create a new paradigm. It starts with a new psychology. Yes, the next enterprise belongs to the Africa, to the youth. Let them drive it. What are they going to do to play the process? You start with the Rapid Africa Plan, start with the pinnacle of organization. Let's have a team of people to start talking about a holistic roadmap, which is already structured. But it aligns every challenge, every problem. We start by the plan. Thank you.
Hello, can I add to this? Let me probably put this in perspective. If we narrow it down to religion, have you ever asked yourself why most of the religious leaders that you see, either painted, it could be Jesus, it could be any other, is in the color of the Caucasian skin? It is particularly because for a people to advance, they must see their own as gods. I'll give you a classic example. I don't know how many people can, could conceptualize this, but imagine if Jesus were painted in your room and he's black-skinned. That is a shift in paradigm. In fact, most people who walk in and see a picture of that kind of thing would naturally relate, would naturally ask questions like, what is that? How it would naturally shift their paradigm. So the basic thing Dr. Hannington is saying is, we need, for the psychodynamics of leadership must ensure that everything from religion to the concept of our racial existence must be something that is ingrained in the mindset of virtually every other African as one of excellence. But then, Dr. Hannington, I will say this. It seems abstract when we talk about having to try to sell this to other people, especially the existing leadership in Africa, as regards each of the distinct presidents. Only a few, and if we're lucky, only a few can accept this. So, the thinking would be, could we build something, that we can ascribe to the Rapid Africa Plan model and scale that thing up in such a way that we could export that success and transplant it? This would be my thinking. But then we would be very fortunate enough if we could take this, the Riot Act and the Master Reset project to any African leader and say, this is the way to go. We may be lucky. It's possible that, we could do this at the SOAD, and then we could see how we could leverage the SOAD as a bridge to get to the distinct countries. I mean, this is just my own addition to.
If I may just come in there, first of all, I want to go back to this idea of religion. The worst human right that the Western nations did to the African, it's as if they came and cut our head off, and but our bodies are still able to do something, and under their own instruction. You see, when you kill a people's culture, you kill that people. Why? Because culture is a containment of the knowledge power that includes the developments in technology, whether adopted or developed that nation, and it reaches a critical mass of that content to create a new paradigm, and it happens from space to space. it develops. Like
Yes.
right now, if we go back like to, just 1999 is when the cell phone started. And then all these other
Yes.
things that have come in this space. But the others, the
Yes.
next, if you go back the next 40 years, it wasn't like that. So now as we right now as Africans, right, we have amassed all this knowledge, excuse me, but it's not attached to a spiritual center within ourselves. It's not attached to our cultural values, right? Right now we follow
Yes.
the economic models. Yeah, we build industries and so forth, but what are the value systems of our people? What are they expecting, and how do we attach it? Because if you try to develop a people beyond their value system, it doesn't work. You don't the
It
organic
doesn't.
creative process of a nation, right, which is proportional to that population. That we have enough people. Every nation has got enough creative and innovative people that can sustain the growth of that nation. That's why you find America, for example, is stuck because they have not developed the cultural aspect. They don't have a culture anymore. Therefore, they don't have an internal driver. So it's so critical for us to understand that this idea of having these chiefs and everything is getting the spiritual center together, which is so critical. The people that are here, these presidents are just tools
Yes.
of the Western system. We don't need them because why should they be there when the youth, we have all these young men that are here, right? What do they understand when Eric is talking? What do they understand? So the key thing is for us to create a technological platform where everything is laid, right? Where every youth, every person for the next enterprise, they are registered and they can vote. And we can go then with the seat with this program, and we create a center of organization which is not the which is not the Africa Union, but a center of organization of a planning commission for the new era. Then we say, hey, this is what we have, this is what we want to do. We must minimize as much as possible all these revolutions. Professor Lumumba is now going and saying to the people, to the youth, he's saying, revolutions come from the youth. Revolution. I don't know what's wrong with the African people, and yet he's the one. He's got this youth foundation. What has he done to organize a kind of structural leadership? He hasn't done anything. He's asking for 15 grand to go and speak, but two first class tickets. But where is he organized this? So
Hello.
let's agree that the enterprise belong to the youth, must be led by the youth, and assisted by us, and they must create their own concept, and they must become out to date and use technology. They have that science, because the key element you must
Hello.
understand is that we don't have the capital. I mean, we don't have the collateral. So what are they going to do? We have to come with a new technological system that is more efficient than the banks today. The loans they give are only 20% success. But with a technological platform without collateral, you can do an 80% success.
Hello,
So,
Dr. Hanning.
uh-huh.
Please, can I add this? If you notice, countries like China, probably Russia, most of them, in a sense, I don't know if the word would be right. They blacklist religion based, using policy. If you notice, a classic example is I'll give you a classic example. Even if they were to do religion, like you have a Chinese Pope in China. So even if you were going to practice any religion, you would have to have a Chinese equivalent in the leadership of that particular religion. All this, what I'm trying to say in essence is all this helps facilitate the value system that makes the people great, that contains their religion, that has a representation and an identity of those people within that religion. And I'm using religion because that is
Well, I think it's network. Now, just to add one, the final thing was to say that he was asking whether we can find a place to start from and have a success story. I think I already outlined that a major portion of the Rapid Africa Plan is to have a prototype nations. and the problem we are
shackle
facing.
of the African mindset. So just as you're saying, create a reset in such a way that we.
Mr. George, your network is really.
I'm so sorry. Yes, I understand. I'm so sorry, Dr. Huntington.
Yeah, well, I think the point is well made. I think from my own view, I think we could move forward from this and say, we right now we need a small team of people to drive this prototype nation and also to create a buy-in, a team of protagonists on the continent. You know, we there's a structure that I have on this program, and then also
Yes.
there's a ready-made structure to go into these countries. So that's why I wanted to speak to Eric, because finance is a key element of it, and it's something that he has been in. So thank you.
Okay.
Yeah,
Thank you,
I have some
everyone.
questions.
Officially, we have come to the end, but we will remain again now to maybe to discuss. Now is discussion like between us, get more knowledge and so on. So officially, we'll come to the end. Thank you, everyone. You can leave or you can stay now. You can go on, Mr. Castellation.
Yeah, thank you very much
You can
for.
stop the recording, right?
Yeah,
Okay,
they
sure.
can
Let me
stop the
see.
recording.
Just a second. Let me check. Mm, Where are we? Okay, I think I'll stop it right now. Yeah, Professor
The recording
Hamilton.
has stopped.
Professor Hamilton, hello.
Yes.
Yeah, Professor. Yeah, I'm happy to hear what you said today, but I have some questions to ask, sir. You know, like looking at the structure, because now I'm speaking from the
Start
economy
with the
side.
question. May I ask you to start with the question, please?
Okay. Yeah, well, the question comes with an open introduction on some areas first.
Start with the question and then do that, please.
Okay. The question is the model of China, to be specific, the model of China, the development model of China and the US. What they use currently is trade. That is the amount of product and services that they can sell to the world. So wouldn't that be the best model that African can use? That's the question.
Okay. All right. Hold on a second.
Okay.
This is the thing about, us people. We don't listen when people are, we don't listen to each other.
Okay.
When people are talking, we don't. I don't know whether you came late or not, but I
No.
want to show you. I want to show you something.
Okay.
I'm sorry because it's we don't catch things. Look.
Okay.
We have we have to design our industrialization process. What is
Okay.
going to look like, including our industrial model,
Okay.
including finance model, including marketing model, including how do we brand ourselves, and how do we create a future. This is the benchmark, and what is the concept we want after we have our vision, that have an interval of time which is 40 years. And what else? Yeah, which means we're going to look at all these systems, the means, the value system, our strategy, and so that, then the next stage is institutionalization. So how do we deal with these global markets and partnerships? This idea of 51% is somebody
Okay.
comes with $1 million and
Yeah.
they
Hello?
get 51%, and then you give them the rights to 50 billion worth of minerals. So I don't know if that answers your question. Thank you.
Hello, Doctor. Hello, Constance. Can I jump
Yeah.
in here? Have you
Okay,
seen
sure.
the movie? Have you seen the movie The Black Panther? Eric talked about it. Have you seen that movie?
Well, I just watched the intro. I didn't watch the movie. I just watched
Eric talked about this last week, and then we talk about it this week again. Or he mentioned it. If you see that movie, if that movie alone could be shown to kids from 4 years old all across Africa, you could have a program alone that takes kids to watch that. Not even because they understand it or see the fighting systems there, but the fighting helps them understand that Africans have superheroes. Then the other thing is, if you see the city elements and then the dress code elements, you would notice an Africa that is very modernized. If you see the story about the fact that Africa is hidden in a very unique, technologically advanced jungle of its own that can't be found, it creates a shift in the paradigmic thinking of kids.
Okay.
So what Dr. Hannington is talking about. So what Dr. Hannington is talking about is that we need to be able to create a system that allows for us to understand that we actually can achieve superiority, but they must be broken down in such a way that we get ourselves out of hunger through, as you mentioned, trade, an industrial process that allows for us to become the very best at creating products, services, models that can be sold to the world, that are contained in our own culture. In our own culture, with our own technological interpretations of those products, such that they can add universal value wherever they are sold and to whomever they are sold to. This would be my interpretation of everything that he said, if it makes it a whole lot easier.
Okay, so let's make it let's try and get it more narrow. What is the way forward? The first way forward from your model or from his model? What's the first way forward?
I would almost tell you we need to build.
Let me come in a bit, please.
Okay, the first way forward. Yeah.
Cancellation and let me talk for me. My problem is we have good ideas.
Okay.
We have good ideas. We have good ideas. We have very, I don't know if to say greedy figureheads in Africa, or I don't know to say if we have statues in Africa, the statues in the president. So my own problem is
the question is what's the way forward?
Yes, we've heard of this over and over again. Professor Hamilton has explained. He has a prototype. I've seen. That is what I'm trying to hear. That is what I'm trying to listen here. From here, what's the way forward? We know we already have very useless government and very terrible human beings as head of.
We need to build a product.
The way forward, because we have to deal with them. We cannot keep complaining. Oh, the government is bad, so we keep remaining like that. What's the way forward? How can we do to move to the next step?
Professor, I think we can hear what you have to say about that, sir.
Well, first of all, what would be your concept of leadership of Africa? What can it look like? And who can put it together? You know, everything starts with leadership. So what's your view of a leadership process that can put together a transformational program or concept?
If I have to say my view, for me, I don't know. For me, I talk for me, not for anybody, Professor.
Not for everyone. Yeah.
Yes, for me, Professor. First, for us to move forward, I'll be very direct. Please, maybe it will help some people, it will not help some people, but I'll just be direct. For me, Africa as it stands now, we need a leader we need a positive dictator. Let me say positive dictator. This thing of democracy for me first.
Ken.
Yes, sir.
I think you are straying from the question here.
Come again. I didn't. Maybe I didn't understand.
You see, you are talking about the problems.
Yeah.
Yes. See, this is why we are stuck in Africa. We keep talking about history. We keep saying these leaders. Now let me tell you. Let me show you something.
Yes.
My brothers, you need to read the book called The Rap. It's free. I wrote a book. The 600-page book is free to Africans. Right? I didn't make it to show off to people. I put it as a manual for our children. They don't have a concept that is organized, that is structured, that is organic and technical. Right?
Yes.
So where did I start when I came to thing? So we know. So the key thing for us here, we keep saying this problem here, these leaders and so forth. Now, understand this. Government is a system that was assuming that we were Africans and were the first people to think about government, how would it have come into place? A government is a corporation for a nation, right? And that corporation obviously has got structures and has got uh, a job description, so that they call the constitution. Now, that constitution describes this system. Within this system is the judiciary, right? And the seat of power that is transferred from where? From the people that designed the what? From the nation that designed the constitution. Now we adopted a constitution that is dictatorial and colonial by nature, like that our presidents have colonized our nations, right? We think that they have the power; they're just custodians of the power. Power is power only exists as a conceptualization that is only valuable for as long as the people believe in it. So if you believe that the concept of power that is in our leaders today does not work anymore, then it doesn't. Somebody says when the causes that are behind the masses or the people become more important than the system, right? Then the
Yeah.
system does not stand for the people, and the system have got a problem.
Okay.
You see, now when we get together as a nation from Mars, we have a national intent to enterprise so that every person can get out of their house and go and be creative and create a process and business and organization, and then other people can come and work. And through that process, we are able to have everything we need. It's masterminded by God like that.
Okay.
You see, so now we are giving over the power, our power as a nation. You, the youth, it's not negotiable. It's your place of enterprise. So we are giving over the power because that's how the colonialists came. They came, the government became the power. And yet the power should be the people. Now, when a system, when that constitution and the system it creates become irrelevant to the people have got the right to nullify everything and start afresh. And that's the thinking that you must have. And I think that's why it's important for every youth to read the Riot Act, the African Master Reset. If you are a revolutionary transformational leader, read the 600 page. If you are just a technical person who wants to get on with it, read the 200. Start with. If that is the case, then there needs to be a team of people.
Yeah.
We need to create a team that
Okay.
that creates buy-in into the leadership. We
Okay.
only need about 5 leaders, and they
Okay.
are there already in the foreign
Okay.
in these countries. Yeah.
Okay. And Professor,
Answer your
can I be granted about 3 minutes to explain something which I think is key? It could be key. Just 3 minutes, sir.
It's not
Okay.
me. I'm not the moderator.
Okay. Moderators and everyone, 3 minutes, please. In the US, we have S&P 500. So just for clarity, the 500 biggest companies in the US. I'm just trying to explain it in a layman's language. There are 500 companies in the US, the major companies of the US, 500. So what they do was they created a system called Wall Street. So which means that the people of the US and across the world, the general people, they are going to buy the shares and stock of those companies in such a way that anybody can buy. Myself, I won't own some tiny percent fraction of those shares. So they did it in a way that different people are going to buy shares in those companies, and those are the companies that rules the world today. Coca-Cola is there, Berkshire Hathaway is there, Apple is there, and wherever. So looking at the model of the US, and of course, China is also copying that same model as well too. From my system here, I can see that last year alone, China did over. Let me be very specific. China did over 17.4 trillion revenue. That's the revenue, $17.4 trillion. China alone, and of course, ICBC is the biggest bank in the world. They did about $4 to $5 trillion in revenues. So, don't you think, Professor, that we should copy the same model of S&P 500? That's to say, for example, we identify 1,000 companies in Africa. Then uh, the African could create their Wall Street so that I myself I can be able to buy shares so that the people of Africa are going to push those companies forward. Because if just imagine 500 companies are ruling the US and of course ruling the whole world. So don't you think that will be that would be a smart way, Professor?
Prof.
Yeah.
Hello.
Hello.
Yeah.
I was going to say that first of all, I don't know if have you ever heard of Black Wall Street?
Yes.
That was burnt down.
Sure. Yeah.
Beautiful. It tells you that what you just said made sense because black people copied it in the US and it was burnt down by white people.
Okay.
You know, several years back. So it goes back to what I was saying. What we first of all need to do is to build a product. Now I will come to another concept. Yes, I mentioned it to Dr. Hannington. When you build a product, I'm only saying it's possible to export this, you know, the rap and the concept from the point of view of the political model and the other thing, take it to a leader. But somewhat, if we build some kind of a product, we probably can show proof of concept through a product that is palpable to the people. They can see it. This is because we're talking about the ordinary man. Those 500 companies you're talking about are products, isn't it?
Sorry, I didn't hear you clearly. Hello. Yeah.
I said those 500 companies, the S&P 500 companies are products.
Products. I said yeah, of course. Yeah. They're products, yeah.
Exactly. So exactly. So it is only by building that. Now, I will go to another concept. I don't know if you've ever heard of the concept of the chaebols and the zaibatsus. Those two terms are companies that were ordinary companies that were empowered by governments to become mega companies, the likes of the Huawei's, the likes of the Samsungs.
Okay.
In Japan and South Korea.
Okay.
Zaibatsu and chaebol.
Oh, Eric was saying something.
Yeah.
In China, in Asia.
Okay.
Saying that can't we identify these companies and then build them or help them scale based on, you know, the products that they have? And it's one of the ways and that in itself is an industrial model, which is captured in what Dr. Hannington, Professor Hannington is talking about, is to ensure that your industrial model empowers talent and ideas so that they grow, you build products, and people can eventually invest, and they can also become, you know, create the kind of brainwave, they can create a superiority mentality in other people to replicate. And this is a way people become, you know, aspire towards excellence and competitiveness. So yes, you are right.
So if I may add just one thing there, you know, from a transformational process creation point of view for Africa, I think a lot of people, people fall into two categories. There's the, what do you call them? There's the, let me say the general population are the technical people, the people that make things move forward, right? And then there's the, you know, the creative, innovative people, the visionary people that have foresight, they create the concept, right? And then that concept is taken to the technical people to do it. So we have to understand that there's those two types of people. Because when we have a discussion, we quickly go to discussing this project, this could happen, this could happen, this could happen. Of course, it's possible. Of course, we have we have people that have complete structured ideas of what to do it. So we quickly run to talk about what can be done down there without agreeing on what the concept, the total concept is going to be. So I think our focus should be on the total concept because before we get lost in these discussions, can we agree that we need transformation, and that's the kind of change that we want, and fast track ourselves through industrial revolutions to the fourth one? Is that, would that be a key leading idea? And then from there, can we then say we have a vision? The vision is to make Africa a $60 trillion nation, a continent within the next 40 years. And it's a mathematically calculated number. So in other words, I've qualified that vision, right? And it's in 40. It's got an interval of time, and it's scaled, and it's justified that we need to do it, right? When we have that, then we say, guys, what are we going to do to do it? Then we create a team of people to drive it. You know, we have very intelligent, very smart, very highly technical, very organized, very successful people everywhere. But the top part of it has got nothing to do with the excellence of execution. And that's why we are missing it. It's about people who can see what needs to be done, people that can create what needs to be done. The nation, the competence capacity, in other words, the people that we have can do things, have been trained to do things. It's like they've been trained to cut trees, but when they go into the forest, they don't know which tree to cut. And they don't know what to make unless they are told by somebody, by the visionary person that has got a picture of why the trees must be cut. So we don't have that justification that we need to go into this forest and make this kind of house that is Afrocentric. You see that concept, then the people can go and cut it, and we go there. Let's agree to talk that, okay, let's qualify what is the vision, what does it look like, what is its scalability, what is the sense of schedule, the interval of time, and is it justified? Then when we say yes, then we say, where is the leadership? And I say that any transformation starts with a transformational leader, an individual who has the capacity, inside the foresight as a gift to see things and to have the confidence to align everything. A person that has got a mind that can put all these contradictions together and align a process and still remain sane. So we need to say, where is the leadership? And then create a pinnacle of leadership first. And then anything that we're talking about, anything else, is going to go under design program. For example, trade show. I don't know why you put your name as trade show. That young man from China. Why do you put your name as trade show and not put your name? And
Yeah,
so,
that's our mobile ATP name. We have a
huh?
mobile ATP. We
So
have
I
a
don't
mobile
know. I
application.
don't know how to address your name. What is your name?
My name is Edmond. Edmond.
Yeah. So people will come with brilliant. That, you know, that thing that you said. It's a
Yeah.
very. It's a. One day, you know what we need to do? You and
Yeah.
me. Let's have a Zoom. I want to show you something. You know,
Okay.
because I know the other time you, you wanted to harass Eric.
That's right.
I want us to to get together. So
Okay,
let's
sir.
agree, gentlemen. Here, the
Okay.
first thing we have to clarify is the picture of what you want to achieve. Very
Okay.
clear, right? And then we have a roadmap
Yeah.
that says sense of agency, that says direction. Where are we going as Africans? Alignment of
Yeah.
all these institutions, all these ideas, and all these Pan-African revolutionary things, align it under one process, right? Under one people, under one voice. So we have
Yeah.
one Africa, one roadmap, one voice, right?
That's
And
right.
then one program. If we can agree on
Yeah.
that, and have the team start, a few people get together to form this team. Then we go and say, who are the movers and shakers on Africa, right? In the civil, right? The business, organizational churches, and so forth, right? And then who are the, political, who are the traditional leaders? Who are the movers
Yes.
and shakers? Who are the former presidents like Mbeki, right? Who
Mm.
are the presidents today that wants transformation? We have Ado, we have Kagame, we have the president of Malawi, we have the president of Zambia, we have the president of Kenya. They are ready to move forward. Then we have that team as the protagonist of this. We structure it, then we sell it to the people. People are looking for a way, they are looking for someone who comes with something. They don't know what it is, what it looks like, but when they see it, they know it. So we haven't packaged. That's why you find all these WhatsApp groups and everything. People are talking this one, this history, what, you know, because they don't know what to do. They are not designed by God to know what to do. Because if 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 1,000,000 people, if 1,000 people, if 100 people, if 10 people, if any of those people would come and say, I have this idea, I have this idea, I have this idea, do you think we'd get somewhere? Right? We'll be fighting. You see, so God is structured. Every process is structured organically. Every the advancement of a system, the progress, I mean, of a society is structured under scientific spiritual principles that are very definite. So, and therefore, this we need to understand that part that there's everything is psychodynamic. We have the mental mechanics that we have to structure. It's inherent, it's in us, it's in every society, right? A seed, when you put a seed in the ground, it's structured. It's got the intellectual element within it to identify the minerals and everything that it needs, then to germinate, and it's got the DNA to produce what's supposed to do. And society has got this thing that we call the gene of social emergence. In other words, each people, each nation, they will emerge with a structure, with a model that is unique to themselves. So the thing that we should be talking about right now is for us to say, yes, let's have this vision. What does vision look like? What is it we want to establish? This is, guys, we have come together. This is what we're going to do. This is what we want to produce. This is what we want to make. This is Africa want to make. It's like this, like this, like this, like this. And then we say, what's the institution going to be? What's the program design going to be? And what's the revolutionary aspect going to be? And we move forward from there. That's my final input. Thank you very much. I got to go and help people move.
Yeah, that's right.
Eric, I don't know if Eric, I don't know if we have established a connection there based on this description, but I've been trying to get hold of you because I want us to go into these nations. I want to form a team that go into these nations and launch this prototype nation. You know, there's a consultant technical element to it, which I think,
totally,
you know, you'd be a great person to lead it.
Well, I'm happy to play my part. I think you've created a great roadmap. Let me study it a bit more. It'll take me a couple of weeks to read the whole 600 pages. I'll read the 200 pages by next week. I've got to go shortly, but anybody wants to contact me, I put my details in the chat. And also, I'm doing something similar with Liverpool and Northwest.